discussing function words. Previous session we studied what are function words. We know the definition of function words, and we know that function words are structure of words, small words like a, and, the, in, on, some, any, both, and, neither, nor, such type of structural words which help main verbs or main words, or rather the common words, to of course take different grammatical positions, or of course structural constructions to form different sentences. So there are different kinds of function words. There are different kinds of function words, and yesterday in the previous session we studied that there are of course 8 kinds of function words, and we studied most of the, or rather we just had a look at the most important function words, and we know that articles are a kind of function words. Auxiliaries are again a kind of function words. We have of course determiners, demonstratives, quantifiers, interjections, prepositions. These are all function words, and we are discussing the kinds of function words in detail. And yesterday we studied about the articles a and the. Today we start the discussion of yet another kind of function word, that is of course auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs. So it's easy to understand. We are discussing function words, and we are discussing kinds of function words. We just discussed articles the former session, and now we are discussing auxiliary verbs. We have to understand the definition of auxiliary verbs right now. We know that auxiliary verbs are also known as helping verbs. They are called helping verbs because auxiliary verbs help the other verbs to express mood, tenses, passive structures, questions, futurity or future time, emphasis, etc. So in order to indicate or convey different moods, modality, or questions, etc. Are you fine? Do you know where the post office is? Can you help me? May I come in? Will you please shut the door? So in all this we have of course different kind of expressions or functions. We, in order to discharge different functions like as questioning, or other in order to show passivity, like the rat is killed by the cat. The rat is killed by the cat. The rat is killed by, is killed. All right. Rama killed Ravana. Rama killed Ravana. Ravana is killed by Rama. So in passive structures. Okay. So now we have the definition of auxiliaries. Auxiliary verbs are verbs that help main verbs take different grammatical positions, or auxiliary verbs are verbs which help main verbs indicate different structures. Like we have different tenses. We have the simple present, we have the present continuous, we have the present perfect, and we have the present perfect continuous. Similarly, we have same kind of tenses in the past and the future. And in order to show the different kinds of tenses, we depend on auxiliary verbs. And now we are discussing, of course, the auxiliary verbs. And let us understand the very important fact that auxiliary verbs are 3 groups. There are 3 groups of auxiliary verbs. Let's look at the 3 groups of auxiliary verbs. Easy to understand. Auxiliary verbs, helping verbs, They are of three kinds, or rather they are divided into three groups. Group 1, primary auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries is the first group that come under the main head, that is of course the main branch, that is of course auxiliaries, primary auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries are also called principal auxiliaries. Principal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries are also known as principal auxiliaries. They are the most important auxiliaries. Why? Because they can discharge two functions. One occasion, one side, they can discharge the function of main verbs. They can act as finite verbs. They can also act as second duty of these verbs, these helping verbs. They can also discharge the duty of auxiliaries. So now that they can act as finite verbs on one side and non-finite verbs on the second side, we call them principal auxiliaries or primary auxiliaries. We will just learn the different primary auxiliaries after some time, but before that let's come to the second group of auxiliaries. The second group of auxiliaries are called modal auxiliaries. Modal auxiliaries, say, they are helping us to indicate of course different modes, or we use them to of course ask questions, to express possibility, to express habit, to of course uh, indicate such kind of different state of being. We may say, I can do it, my ability, I can do it, my ability to do something, right? I could swim when I was young, ability in the past. So, in order to indicate such type of possibilities, such functions, and such abilities, and for of course asking questions, etc., we depend on the second group of auxiliary, that is of course modal auxiliary. And now we come to the third group of auxiliaries, that is semi-auxiliaries. They are called semi-auxiliaries because they of course are used very rarely used, and of course they do not have all the qualities of the auxiliaries, and they are called semi-auxiliaries. They are also known as marginal auxiliaries. Okay, so very easy to understand. We are discussing auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are helping verbs. Okay, in this particular sentence, Raju plays football. We don't have any function word, or we don't have any structural word. Raju, noun, plays, verb, football, another noun. Okay, Raju, subject, verb, plays, football, of course, the object, right? And when we are indicating the continuity of the action of play, we will be depending on an auxiliary verb to show the continuity, and we will say Raju is playing football. Raju is playing football. So this is the purpose of auxiliary, to show different special aspect of the action. Raju plays football, okay, no auxiliary. Raju is playing football, continuity, progression of the action, it is going on, and in order to show the progression of the action, we depend on the auxiliary verb is plus ing. All right, ing form of the verb, and that is the auxiliary, primary auxiliaries. Then of course modal auxiliaries, semi auxiliaries, three groups of auxiliaries. Now we are just going into the details. Okay, today of course we are discussing the primary auxiliaries in detail. Primary auxiliaries are also called principal auxiliaries, and there are of course three primary auxiliaries, and each of these three primary auxiliaries have certain subdivisions under them. And which are the primary auxiliaries? Which are the three primary auxiliaries? The three primary auxiliaries are, number one, be and its forms. What are the forms of be? Be is one of the primary auxiliary, and all the forms of be are primary auxiliaries. So be, okay, and the forms, I am a boy. he is tall. I was tired yesterday. Was, they were clever in handling the issue. Okay, were. So be, am, is, are. The students are happy that it is a holiday today. Are. So am, is, was, were, been, being, be. These are, of course, the different forms of be. All right. So we have three primary auxiliaries: be and its forms. We saw be and its forms right now, and have and its forms, do and its forms. They are, of course, the primary auxiliaries. Be and its forms, have and its forms, do and its forms. And what are the forms of be? Am, is, are, was, were, been, being. And what are the forms of have, has, had, having. All right. And what are the forms of do, does, did, done, doing. All right. So we have seen three of the most important, or rather three of the primary auxiliaries or the principal auxiliaries. And now we have to understand another very important aspect about the primary auxiliaries. That is, the primary auxiliaries, okay, are used in two ways. Number one, primary auxiliaries can be used as main verbs on one occasion. They can be used as finite verbs. Similarly, finite primary auxiliaries can also be used as non-finite verbs. And we have to distinguish between the finite verbs or the non-finite verbs. All right, it's very easy to understand. What are finite verbs? Finite verbs are main verbs. And what are main verbs? Main verbs agree with the subject in number and tense. Say we have Alex plays cricket. Alex plays cricket. So Alex agrees in number. Alex agrees, rather plays, the verb agrees in number, tense, etc. with the verb or subject. Okay, the subject agrees with the verb. Similarly, of course, the verb agrees with the subject. So such verbs which agree with the subject are called finite verbs. And non-finite verbs, right? The non-finite verbs cannot be affected by the subject or the verb in any way. Say, for example, I like to swim. I like to swim, and to swim is, of course, a non-finite form. All right. Otherwise, we can say, right, he likes to go swimming. All right. Or rather, you can say something of that sort, in which, of course, the uh, verbs that does not agree with, or rather do not agree with the subject, or the just is not affected by, verbs which are not affected by the number, tense, etc. are called non-finite verbs. Okay, finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Similar, so say for example we have the sentence, John likes ice cream. John likes ice cream. All right. So John likes ice cream. So John is the subject, likes is the verb, and likes is finite because likes agree with it. John likes. It is not John anything else. It's John likes. But when we say John likes to eat, John likes to eat. So you have eat ice cream, right? John likes to eat ice cream. John likes to eat ice cream. So that to eat is what is known as non-finite form. So we say that the auxiliaries, primary auxiliaries, are used as both main verbs and, of course, as auxiliary verbs. All right. And now we are just learning the use of be. be as the main verb is used in, of course, the following sentences like I am a student. I am a student. Am is one of the forms of be, and am is used as a finite verb. I am a student. Number two, we are students. One of the forms of be is are, and are is used here as a finite verb, a main verb. We are students. Another one, you are welcome. You are welcome. And are is yet another form of the primary auxiliary be, and are in this sentence, you are welcome, is used as a main verb. He is a musician. Is yet another form of be, and it is used as a main verb or a finite verb. So we understand that the primary auxiliaries, be and its forms, have and its forms, do and its forms are used sometimes as main verbs and sometimes as, of course, auxiliary verbs. And now we come to, of course, another very important fact, that is, of course, the different forms of be. As I said in the beginning, be has these forms like the finite forms of be: am, is, are, was, were. I am fine. I'm an engineer. He is a doctor. He is playing. She is dancing. They are learning English. He was playing yesterday when I went to see him. They were all very happy yesterday. So all these forms of be are used as finite verbs or main verbs. And now we come to the non-finite forms of be. And the non-finite forms of be are be, say, the cat will be traced. The cat will be traced. And it is tracing is the activity. Tracing is the verb. Okay. And we understand that the time is future, and the future time is indicated with the help of auxiliary, that is will, the modal auxiliary, and be, the primary auxiliary. And we would say the cat will be traced, and this be in the sentence is a non-finite expression of the verb, that is, of course, the auxiliary verb be. The cat will be traced. Second one, he has been learning English. He learns English, but he learns English becomes he has been learning English because it's a long period of time. He has been learning English for the last 5 years. All right. So in order to show that activity which began sometime in the past and continued all through, we use the expression he has been learning English. And in this context, we have the form of the non-finite form of be, that is been, been. He has been learning English. And now we move on to the third non-finite form of the auxiliary verb be, and that is being, being, being. And we say the soup is being prepared. Okay, the soup prepares, she prepares the soup. Somebody prepares the soup, but we say in the passive, the soup is being prepared. The soup is being prepared. So to indicate the passivity of the action, that somebody is preparing and it is being prepared, it is under preparation, it is going to be ready. We have the expression the soup is being prepared, and being in this sentence is one of the non-finite forms of the auxiliary verb be. And this is, of course, our preliminary discussion of the auxiliaries. Of course, to be very precise, we are discussing the primary auxiliaries, and there are three primary auxiliaries: be and its forms, have and its forms, do and its form. We just began the discussion of the auxiliary, the primary auxiliary, be and its forms, and we know the different forms of be. We know that this primary auxiliary is used both as a main verb and an auxiliary verb. And of course, we have seen the use of some of the uses of the primary auxiliary be. And with this, we will wind up today's class. Of course, we'll be discussing further about these auxiliary verbs different auxiliary verbs in the subsequent sessions, because auxiliary verbs, it was a very, very big area. You have to learn a lot, and of course we may require a lot of sessions, and we will learn all that in the subsequent sessions. Thank you very much for listening. Take care, everybody.